Now we're going live. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Aaron Wallace from Balance Your Fitness. I really appreciate you spending your Friday here. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. So what we want to be able to go and do is go and see how we can be able to go and lower some stress. A lot of times when you or someone that you care about has been dealing with quite a bit of stress in their lives, we sort of feel like things snowball. We feel like every single time that we try to deal with one stress, another piles up. So one of the things we want to be able to learn and be able to talk about today is how we can be able to go and understand how our stressors work, how our body works to be able to handle those stressors, and how we can be able to go and lower the amount of stress that we're dealing with on a daily basis. So when I speak about this, just to give a little background about my education and background, I am certified as what's called a CHEK practitioner. If you've ever heard of that before, it stands for Corrective Holistic Exercise Kinesiology. And what we want to be able to go and do is that understand that each person is their own set of physical, chemical, mental, emotional, and spiritual stressors. And the combination of all of these stressors are what actually goes and creates the total amount of stress that we're dealing with on a daily basis. And so most people, when they think of stress, we think of mental, emotional stress. We think of arguments with our spouse. We think of, having a bad day at work, or, cussing out the guy on I-75 who just cut us off. What we don't realize is that our body reacts the same way chemically to eating a McDonald's cheeseburger as a chemical stress, or not moving, right? So not having enough movement, or perhaps going and over-exercising and overstraining our body. Our body reacts the same way to produce the same types of stress hormones. So when we think of those stressors, and how we go and deal with them, what we want to be able to realize is that it's not just what we see on the surface. So there's other different stressors usually going on that we want to be able to go and address. So think about your stress levels as sort of like a cup of water. If I were to go and take a cup of water and start to fill it, and slowly fill it, in the beginning with small amounts of stressors, there's not a lot of water in the cup and you feel like, okay, it's not spilling yet. And then I'm going to keep going and keep adding more and more and more and more and more and more until the water overflows. That's what we want to be able to go and avoid getting to by draining a little bit of stress out of the cup. So now, most people of you can't really go and quit your jobs if you don't like them a lot of times, at least not right away. Most of us can't go and, massively go and upheaval our relationships. That might cause us more stress as well. But what we want to be able to go and do is to be able to say, what can we do in our lives to be able to lower the amount of other stressors that we're dealing with? So perhaps the other ones that, we feel like that are a little bit more difficult to rearrange are a little bit less worrisome or bothersome to us, or we don't feel quite so overwhelmed anytime someone just cuts us off on the freeway. So as a CHEK practitioner, the first thing I go and do whenever I go and I work with someone is being able to teach people, teach any new client, how to be able to go and understand some of the basic six foundational principles when it comes to lowering stress in our lives. And they have to do with the basic concepts of bringing energy in, or letting our body rest and recuperate, or bringing energy in, and also expending energy out properly. So the six techniques, or 6 ways we can go and think about lowering our stressors. 3 have to do with being able to expend energy out. So we think of movement, the ways that we can de-stress through movement or exercise, through our thoughts. So being able to go and understand how we can go and change our thoughts, or be able to go and manage the concepts that we're dealing with on a daily basis, and being able to as well work on some of the ones that are more energy in concepts. So when we talk about nutrition, the foods that we're bringing in, breathing, and hydration are key factors to being able to go and lower the amount of stressors that we're dealing with. So if we can't be able to go and immediately quit our job that we don't like, we have to be able to go and say, how do we go and make sure that we lower the amount of stressors that we're dealing with in other areas? So the easiest ones that you probably have done before, or perhaps heard of before, is making sure that you have enough water to drink during the day. We want to be able to make sure that half your body weight in ounces of water is usually the starting point, but sometimes that's can feel like sometimes a bit too much for people to get to right away. So when I start off with people, let's say somebody started off with drinking only 20 ounces or 40 ounces of water a day. Let's go and start off with making sure that we do get somewhere in the range of more like 80 ounces of water a day if you're 160 pounds or more. We're progressively working our way to that. If you're closer to 200 pounds, ideally we'd like to get to 100. But if you're only getting to 80, again, it's better than if you were at 60. Anytime our body's dehydrated, we will go and end up pushing out more of our stress hormones, and being able to go and lower our body's ability to go and produce the amount of energy and metabolism that we normally would. So anytime that we produce a stress hormone cortisol breaks down our muscle tissue and lowers our overall metabolism. So anytime that we're dehydrated, we will go and produce more of this hormone. Anytime that also if we go into more nutrition, anytime that we go and we eat meals that are unbalanced for us. So for example, if we eat too many carbohydrates, or perhaps sometimes not enough carbohydrates, the insulin response as well will drive us into producing more cortisol and breaking down muscle tissue and storing more body fat. Anytime we end up storing more body fat, we're actually chemically sort of set up to actually produce more stress hormones. One of the things that fat cells do is convert the hormone testosterone into estrogen in the body. Again, testosterone is the hormone that's necessarily is responsible for being able to go and improve muscle tissue growth, and improve response to exercise, improve our energy levels. The more fat that we store, the more of it we convert to estrogen, which again, the more estrogen that we put out, there actually does start the chemical stress response. So anytime that we go and we don't have exactly what we should eat, we end up increasing those stress hormones. Hi, Susan. Thank you so much for joining us today. Good to hear from you, and glad you can hear and join us today. So now we're going to go ahead and talk about, we talked about nutrition, we talked about hydration. We're going to talk about breathing. And on a lot of these streams, I've talked a little bit about breathing. So if you want to be able to go and check a little bit more about it, go ahead and you can check the Balance Your Fitness Facebook page. You can be able to go look up some of my previous videos on breathing. But the key to being able to go and breathe properly is being able to learn how to breathe with your diaphragm. This is important for all exercise. It's important for just basically being able to lower our stress response. So if you're to go and place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, and you take a deep breath in, either your belly is going to go forward first, or your chest is going to go forward first. So if your chest goes up and forward first all the time, what you're doing is you're actually going and stimulating your body to produce more of those stress hormones. Whereas if you let the belly go first, or if your diaphragm contracts and pushes your belly outward, is what the anatomical thing that's happening. What happens is that lowers the amount of the chemical stress response that we go and we're putting out. So the idea is that we want to be able to make sure that we are breathing. Every time that we breathe, we inhale, belly goes forward, exhale, belly relaxes. And it's only on the last third of our breath that we actually have that chest start to rise. So So now that's the thing we can be able to do to lower our stress response without having a margarita. So we talked about nutrition. We talked a little bit about hydration. We talked a little bit about breathing. Now I'm going to talk about sleep. So that's the sixth portion of this setup, is how much sleep are you getting? Is our body able to physically wind down? So this is actually going to go hand in hand with other different stressors. So our body is meant to be able to go to sleep based off of a rhythm that we have that is set up based off of when the sun rises and when the sun sets. When the sun rises, our cortisol, our natural stress hormone cortisol, will rise and peak at around 10 in the morning and start to fall off the rest of the day. When we're sleeping, when we fall asleep around 10, ideally, our testosterone levels will start to rise. Then when we're sleeping, that's when we produce the most testosterone. It peaks at about 2 in the morning, ideally, and starts to level off until you wake up at around 6 in the morning. So this framework, what's called the circadian rhythm, when it comes to our hormonal production, can a lot of times be disrupted if we are going in, for example, watching TV too late or having too much light. Basically, the blue light, specifically the blue light spectrum that actually hits our eyes when we're at a computer screen or on our phone too close to bed, it makes it harder to sleep. If we are exercising too late and don't do some form of de-stressing work afterward. So for example, if you go and say, like, you know what, I'm going to go work out. This is my only time. It's like 8 o'clock at night because I just put the kids to bed, something like that. And then you go out and you don't do some more of breathing meditation work afterward to sort of calm your body down and get your body into a rest period. We're going to end up going and putting ourselves at more risk for lowering the amount of testosterone or the recovery hormones that we produce when we sleep, and not getting the full result of an exercise program. So anytime that you're going to go out and have more of these stress hormones, you're going to go and push out and shrink the amount of time that you're producing testosterone and other different forms of relaxation and rest hormones. So sleep is extremely important, that we get the full 8 hours, and we try to be able to start winding ourselves down about an hour before we go to bed, and be able to go and start that de-stressing process. If you feel like you still want to be able to go and watch TV or be on a screen or be on your phone, one of the things you can do is to be able to go and purchase something that actually would go and block the blue spectrum of light. And there's many different products now you can find on Amazon and other different things like this. You can basically, like, blue light filtering screens for your computer or your television, or even like glasses. You know, there's like sunglasses that actually do that filtering. And you can actually go and get rid of that blue light, and it gets rid of the, or at least severely hampers a lot of the hormonal disruption that will happen if you're watching TV or watching a screen too late at night. So now we talked about sleep. We talked about nutrition, hydration, sleep. We talked about breathing, and now we're going to talk about movement. So if we're going to talk about movement, we got to be able to make sure that we do the most important form of exercise, and that's strength training exercise. Strength training exercise is the most important type of exercise to be able to do to lower stress long term. So a lot of times we like to be able to take shortcuts if we want to be able to lose weight. Let's say we gained 10 or 15 pounds over the pandemic, right? And it's like, I want to get back into working out and I want to burn as many calories as I can. That means I've got to hop on the treadmill and beat myself up into a bloody pulp. Unfortunately, what ends up happening is that ends up stressing the body out too much. We end up overworking and overtraining, and we end up getting less sleep, and our body feels exhausted, tired. We end up eating more in response to it than we were before, and we don't end up losing the weight, and we end up injured and frustrated, and we don't exactly get the results that we're looking for. So the most important part of exercise that we start with is strength training, because it can help us build our core strength. It can help us build our resistance to injury. It can help us make sure that when we do start to go into caloric deficit, that we have the muscle tissue available to be able to go and have the sugar storage and muscle tissue available, that when we do go into a caloric deficit to help us lose weight, that it doesn't overstress our body, and our brains and nervous system can function properly when we go into a small caloric deficit to help us lose body fat. So if anyone, you talk about losing weight and we're not doing strength training, we're not doing it consistently, it's a recipe for long-term health issues, and it's something that you're going to have to dig yourself out of a hole of if we choose to continue that route. And now I'll talk about the last part, is talking about our thoughts. Is that most of us, when it comes to our stressors on a daily basis, especially the ones that we feel like we can't control, have to deal with our thoughts and our mindset on a daily basis. And I know, people have talked, people talk at length about other different forms of de-stressing. But one of the most important things that we do is we understand, what is it that we want to be able to do with our lives? What is the dream that we're looking to accomplish? Most people, who go through life, we never write down goals. We never write down dreams. And what I mean by difference between goals and dreams, a dream is something you look and say, like, this is what I want my life to be like, right? This is why I'm going out and doing this exercise. This is why I'm going out and working this job. This is why I'm going out and saving my money. This is why I'm going out and sacrificing here, there, the short-term sort of, short-term quick fun stuff. I'm sacrificing to be able to get to the ultimate goal that I'm looking to accomplish, the dream that I want to accomplish. So this is what I want to leave this talk at today, is being able for you to listen to yourself and find what is that dream for you. Because all of these other suggestions that I talk about, when it comes to changing your diet or exercise program or how much water you drink, yada, 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 it doesn't mean anything if we don't have a reason why we're doing it. If we don't have a reason why we are going and doing the harder thing versus doing the easier thing. It's easier to be able to go and sit down on the couch and have a snack and drink a beer, at whatever it is, 2:00 in the afternoon, right? It's easier to do that, right? It's easier. It's, some people like it's more fun, but in the end, it doesn't help us accomplish whatever that dream is that you're looking to achieve. So if we don't have that dream front and center, if we don't have that overarching vision for our life, what happens is that we'll end up floundering. We'll end up, and many people felt this during the pandemic. And I was sort of in a little bit of a rut too at the beginning when my business was forced to close. Is that, you sit down and you're laying down all the time, and you're angry, you're depressed, you watch too much news, so to speak, quote unquote news. And you just get frustrated and upset instead of being able to go and look and say, all right, well, this is what I want to achieve. How do I go out and do it? What are the things that I need to be able to work on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to be able to achieve this goal? And so I'm not saying that I'm perfect. Everyone goes out there and has their own, it's their own personal journey. But if we start off being able to look and say, this is what my dream is, this is what I want to accomplish, this is the vision that I have for my life, the rest of it will follow, because you're going to want to be able to go out and make these type of changes. So that way you can be able to go and enjoy and live your dream. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you guys enjoy a wonderful Friday. And go ahead and relax, enjoy yourself. Hang out with friends safely, be safe out there, and hope you guys have a safe and wonderful weekend.